Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us tonight for our Everyday Leadership Part 2. We're excited that you're here for the evening ahead. For those who are also here at the March 3rd session, welcome back. Thank you to our committee who helped plan the event, and their names are in the chat. My name is Beth Toro. I'm the Senior Director of Grants and Partnership Initiatives at CJP, and I'm joined by some of my colleagues tonight who also helped plan the event. This program has been made possible by a generous grant from the Michael Steinberg Leadership Endowment Fund. We're so grateful for this generous gift and the ability it provides to inspire leadership. Logistics for the evening you saw, please turn your microphones on mute. There'll be multiple times for discussion, so just put a note in the chat if you have a question or comment, and we will call on you. We do have a full night ahead. Nanette is back to lead us with the everyday leadership, review the everyday leadership concept, and to start our Stars of Gratitude activity. We'll then learn about leadership opportunities focusing on food insecurity. Welcome to my CJP colleagues, Madeline Wenzel, Director of Caring Networks, and Lori Kagan, Program Manager of CJP's Anti-Poverty Initiative, who will speak a little bit about CJP's work related to food insecurity. Dianne Kuzia Hills, the Executive Director of My Brother's Table, and Bernice Behar, JFNCS Director of Family Table, will speak about volunteer opportunities with their organizations and the work that they're doing around food insecurity in the community. So thanks again for coming. I'm just going to turn it right over to Nanette. I'm thrilled to welcome her. She's the president of Friedman Strategies, Inc., has more than 25 years of experience with nonprofits as a professional, and is ready to lead us on our second journey of the Everyday Leadership Program. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, Beth, and thanks, everyone. It's great to see you. Just to kind of recap our time together a couple of weeks ago when we talked about everyday leadership, the takeaways from that was that everyone can be a leader from any seat or position, and that leadership is based on our actions. We watched together Drew Dudley's famous TED Talk. If you weren't with us last time, definitely check it out. And he talked about giving people lollipop moments. We also talked about the power of not only giving people kind acts, but acknowledging moments of kindness that we receive from others. And one of the projects that was sent out from CJP was the Stars of Gratitude. You had an opportunity to decorate stars and give them to people. So we want to know how you did. So we're going to send you to breakout rooms to talk about it. I'm going to tell you the questions now, but don't worry, if you didn't get a chance to do the Stars of Gratitude, not a problem. If you did the Stars of Gratitude project, we want to know, how did it feel to make the stars and give them to people? What were the recipients' responses, and what you take away about being an everyday leader? If you didn't do the Stars of Gratitude project, we want to know if you were more intentional in your everyday leadership since we last met, and if so, how? And have you noticed how others exhibit everyday leadership? And did you express gratitude? So the questions are in the chat. You're going to get sent out to those breakout rooms, and then we'll come back and hear from you a couple of minutes. How long are they going to have?
Why don't we do 10 minutes?
10 minutes, all right? So have a great discussion, and we'll see you in 10 minutes. All right, for people who did the Stars of Gratitude project, is there anything that you want to share? Any thoughts you have about how it made you feel to do them or give them, or the recipients' responses? If you didn't do the Stars of Gratitude, did you notice anything different since we last saw each other about intentional everyday leadership? Or did you act any differently as a result of our conversation?
Anne, I'm going to pick on you, Anne. Can you share what you did and how it made you feel? Because you were the recipient of the Star of Gratitude, which was neat.
It wasn't the recipient. Do it briefly. It was for my daughter.
Okay. Oh, it was Kate. Kate was the recipient. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, just briefly tell the story.
Okay. So somebody else on this call sent one of these to my daughter, and this is what she said. She said she was supposed to paint a star, and you came to, this is what she wrote to my daughter: "You inspire me with your aggressive, positive disposition, vast capabilities, and constant dependability. I love you." And I made this star for you. It made me cry, and I was sorry I didn't do them myself, and I plan to do them now.
Oh, good.
So wonderful.
Thank you, Anne. Someone in the room I was in also said that her friends had really done a lot for her birthday, and she was going to do the stars now as a way to thank them for the way they made her feel. So it's not too late to do your stars. If you got them and you still want to give them, it's never too late. And if you run out of stars, you can get some lollipops. Not a problem. Anyone else want to share any thoughts about everyday leadership? Love to hear anything that came to mind.
We had a couple people that spoke just about the intentionality of gratitude and saying thank you and recognizing what people have done for you or recognizing what they've done for others, and that they've been way more intentional about that in the last few weeks.
Awesome. That really is helpful. I also had someone say to me that they're making note of all the things that people do for them that make them feel grateful, and they're writing down things they're grateful for. So a lot of on the receiving end, similar to that. Great. Anyone have anything else to share? If not, I'm going to turn it back over and we'll press on with other wonderful opportunities for people to use their everyday leadership. Thank you guys so much.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Nanette. Really appreciate all that you've done to teach everybody about everyday leadership. It's awesome. So we are going to get going with some of our speakers this evening. And the first to speak will be Lori Kagan, the program manager of CJP's Anti-Poverty Initiative. We'll talk a little bit about what we've been doing at CJP around food insecurity.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Beth, and thank you all for being here. It's great to be here and talk about this. Before I start, I would just wanted to introduce my CJP colleague and boss, Madeline Wenzel. I don't know if we can put a little spotlight on her. She might talk during the questions part. She's the director of CJP Caring Networks. And head of the Anti-Poverty Initiative, which I'll refer to in a second. I am here to talk about food security specifically as it relates to those in the greater Boston Jewish community and how CJP and our partners talk about that. Oh, thank you, Alex, for putting that up. Before I talk about food security, I wanted to take just a brief step back and talk about food aid in the community as part of a larger project, which is the Anti-Poverty Initiative, which was created to help those in our community who are struggling financially, including with their food needs. Next slide, please. Okay, so just some quick background on that initiative. As you can see, in 2015, there was a community study and of the Jewish community in Greater Boston. And it just showed, as you can see, that there were more people maybe than we realized who were in the Jewish community who were really struggling. And in addition to that, the partners you see listed in the graphic on the right were also saying that since the 2007 recession, they had really been seeing people in the community who were struggling, and even though the recession was over, they were still struggling. So it was still a problem. So CJP and the partners, and let me just name them because I don't want to assume everyone knows all of our acronyms. Jewish Family and Children's Services, Jewish Family Services, Metro West, and JVS, Jewish Vocational Services. Did I get everyone? Yeah, and Yad Chesed, that's not an acronym. Okay, so we realized we had to work together, not separately, not in like separate agency silos, but together to create something that would help people move towards financial stability. Next slide. So here you see some of the programs and services that are available to help people. One thing you'll notice is there's a case manager in the center here. So this is because each client can be assigned their own case manager in the Anti-Poverty Initiative. The case manager is at one agency, but helps the person or the household get all the programs and services available at any of the agencies so that the clients don't have to be doing the legwork or know what's there. They get some help. Also, it's going to be on a different slide later, but it was also really important to have a program that's easy to find and easy to access. So the CJP Warm Line was created. So with one phone number or a visit to one website, people could connect with the program. Next slide. So this is just a bit of information about what the initiative looks like today. One thing that interested me is the very high concentration of clients live in Brookline, Brighton, Framingham, and Natick. Oh, sorry, like the greatest concentration of clients live there, but that only accounts for 20% of all clients. So Jews in need and Jews overall are scattered widely across the metropolitan area, including across the North Shore. And also that just food has always been a major need, not just during COVID, but also like huge during COVID as well. 1 in 3 was for last year. I'm not sure where we are today, but it's still one of the top requests. And the food aid here also the numbers include numbers of food given by our partner Food Pantry, Family Table, which you'll be hearing from Bernice about soon. And just FYI, about $110,000 of food aid went to the North Shore. And one other thing I thought was interesting and unfortunate is that food aid in the North Shore went up 25% to North Shore clients, while only 10% up in the greater Boston community. So that shows a little bit more need there, unfortunately. Next slide. So now we're kind of at the nuts and bolts of food assistance from CJP and our partners through the Anti-Poverty Initiative and beyond. And so the first, of course, is Food Pantry. So we're really fortunate to have Family Table. Bernice is going to talk about that. It's a really important resource. They've been working really hard. They were at capacity at their main location even before COVID. So they are really working really hard and scrambling to help as many people as possible. And I also just wanted to mention in the Food Pantry situation, there is a new strictly kosher food pantry in Brighton, which started about at the same time COVID hit, serving about 120 families, mostly from the Orthodox community there, which has unfortunately been hit very hard and struggling a lot financially since COVID. We also fund 2 SNAP benefits advocates. SNAP is food stamps. SNAP isn't enough to cover nearly all of a family's food budget, but it can be key and really helpful in maintaining some economic security and food security. So it's really important that people who can be on SNAP, who qualify, get it. Unfortunately, it's really difficult, confusing, and labor intensive sometimes to get on SNAP and then to keep SNAP at the level that people are entitled to. So these advocates who are based at Beit Tzedek at Jewish Family and Children's Services and supervised by a lawyer work really hard to help people apply, make sure they're getting the maximum amounts, and intervene and advocate when people are rejected or erroneously their benefits are cut. And then the third bucket is over $300,000 last year went to direct financial aid through supermarket gift cards. And this is because neither SNAP nor food pantries cover all of everyone's individual needs. It's also to accommodate special dietary needs. For many people, the increase in grocery expenses due to COVID and being unable to leave the house. So they're paying more for groceries and for delivery, and also essential household items as well. And next slide. This past year, the CJP Coronavirus Emergency Fund has actually been able to also provide hundreds and hundreds of home delivered meals for Passover and Rosh Hashanah to people who are struggling financially and also are isolated and unable to afford or access holiday meals otherwise. And next slide. And we're doing that this Passover, which is next week, I can't believe, as well, fortunately. And so here is the information about how to contact the CJP Warm Line if you know people who need help, and also my contact information and Madeline's as well. And we're happy to take any questions later. Thanks so much.
Lori, thank you so much for the presentation, and to you and Madeline for all your incredibly hard work on the Anti-Poverty Initiative, especially during COVID. It's been an incredible amount of time and energy that you've invested into the community. So thank you. And we will save all questions till after all three presenters go, just so that we can hear from everybody and then have ample time to ask questions of whoever you would like. So the next is Bernice, and she is representing JFNCS, and we'll talk a little bit about the Family Table program, including the one on the North Shore.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here tonight. I'm always happy to talk about what we're doing, and also especially about volunteerism, because there's absolutely no way we could do what we do without many, many volunteers in every place that we operate. So there are a couple people here who are Family Table volunteers, but I think most of you are not. So I'm just going to share a little bit about what our program is about, and talk about what's been happening during the pandemic, so how the pandemic has affected Family Table and our clients, and then a couple of minutes about what we need as a food pantry helping in the Jewish community and beyond the Jewish community, and what you can do to help. So just first off, our mission is, the mission of Family Table is to end hunger in the Greater Boston Jewish community while serving people who need our assistance regardless of their religious affiliation. We fulfill that mission by providing kosher food, creating a caring Jewish connection, and empowering people to make healthy eating a part of their daily lives. So in that mission statement, you can hear a little bit of all of the things that we're really focused on. Jewish community, helping people who are not part of the Jewish community as well, providing kosher food, and emphasizing the healthy aspect of people's diets, and empowering them to be active in making sure that they have a healthy diet. That's giving people recipes that they can use, helping them understand the ingredients that we're providing for them, and that sort of thing, so they can incorporate that into their own food purchasing and food preparation activities. We work in three main areas, as Lori shared on her slide. We have a really robust North Shore pantry housed at Temple Sinai in Marblehead. We have a pantry also hosted at a synagogue in Canton. And then Lori had noted on her slide that we were in Waltham. That's our headquarters, but by no means are we only serving Waltham. We actually serve 108 towns all around the Greater Boston, North Shore, and South areas. So we have a very broad reach. And the way we operate, one of the things that we emphasize is that some people don't have access to a food pantry. They can't get to it. Either they're disabled or they don't have transportation. So our legacy program was as a delivery model. It's interesting because in the pandemic, many pantries have learned how to do deliveries, and we've been doing hundreds of deliveries for years and years and years, every single month. So that's what we engage volunteers in, to help us with that key aspect of our program, really helping make that connection between groceries and bringing them to somebody's door, and making that connection, as I said, a caring Jewish connection, to let people know that we're here to help them, and that our volunteers, who are most often part of the Jewish community, are there to make that Jewish connection with people. So what's been happening during the pandemic? Boy, it's no secret that food insecurity has skyrocketed. The figures, we were already at an alarming state before the pandemic, and it's only gotten worse with people that are unemployed, people who don't have the ability to leave their homes. That's what we found right from the beginning, is that a lot of our older clients suddenly couldn't leave their homes. So if they had been meeting their own needs, sort of with some assistance, it suddenly became that much harder because they were confined to their homes or caring for somebody in the house who was sick. So many, many circumstances which have made it much more difficult for people who were already living on the margin. I can tell you that on the North Shore, our pantry, prior to the pandemic, we have enrolled in our program 65 households before the pandemic started. And that's increased 25% over this last year. So, a typical weekend, we're providing groceries for close to 90 households. And people are incredibly appreciative. They're appreciative when somebody comes to their door and is bringing them this bountiful offering of fresh fruits and vegetables and other essential goods. And at this time of year, they're also really happy to be getting Jewish holiday items. We packed up all kinds of Passover things for people over this last month to make sure that they can not only celebrate, but also observe the holiday. So the pandemic has affected our clients, and we've been doing everything we can, operating outdoors until we could no longer do that, and then figuring out how we were going to sort of package things up and provide them in kind of a curbside model. And now we're getting ready to head back outdoors and start doing everything outside again. And hopefully as the pandemic wanes, as people get vaccinated and we can start getting back to some semblance of normalcy, we'll start getting back to our regular routines. I don't anticipate that our client rolls are going to go down. I think that the effects of this are going to be quite sustained. And so that brings me to what do we need? We always need people to be engaged who want to help us select groceries for clients, hand pack them, and then deliver them to somebody's door. We do this on one Sunday a month. We have a schedule that's posted on our website. And if you want to get involved, it's a very easy thing to do. You can contact JF&CS, and actually, I'll just give you a phone number right now, 781-693-5593. And phone call, just let us know. We'll call you back and get you signed up to volunteer. It's an incredibly uplifting experience. And before my time runs out, I want to introduce Jill Snyder, who's here as well. She is, among the many things that she does at JMCS, she's our North Shore Outreach Coordinator. So Jill, do you want to just quickly say hello in case, just so people see your face? And
Sure. Yeah. Hi, Jill Snyder. Really excited to be here and to, have Bernice sharing so much about the program. I think for me, it was one of the reasons I came to JF&CS before coming to the organization. I was at the Greater Boston Food Bank. So the issue of food insecurity is something, very near and dear to my heart. And it's just, unacceptable that we have neighbors so close to us that are hungry and food insecure. And so, I really appreciate that JF&CS is part of that solution to make sure that people are able to access healthy, nutritious, kosher food. And volunteering, it's awesome. It's, probably I would say under 2 hours, and one of the most meaningful volunteer experiences I've had. It's great for people of all ages. So I know last time people were here with their kids and grandkids. It's a great opportunity to bring younger children. I would say, as young as 4 and 5 we see kids being able to really help out. And then, that is even an exciting part of the delivery for the client. Not only do they get, this plethora of food, but they get to see these smiling faces. And, more often than not, they will run into their cabinet to find a lollipop or a piece of chocolate or something to give to that child or to give to that volunteer that is there, because it really just is such a meaningful moment for the clients. And so if you haven't done it, as I said, we're right up in the North Shore. It's a pretty low time commitment for really high reward. So I just, encourage you to think about it if you're able to, and to join us in this process.
Thank you, Jill. Thanks, everyone. We look forward to hearing from anybody who's interested.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to both of you for being here and sharing all that information. I'm sure that you'll have a few people who, and we have put the phone number and Jill and Bernice's email in the chat. So we'll also be including it in our thank you. So you'll be able to reach out to them. Let's go to my brother's table. Diane, are you, there you are. Welcome.
Unmute myself. Hi. Thank you. Am I unmuted with you?
I can hear you. Yep.
Sorry, I'll get rid of that message. Hi, I'm Dianne Kuzia. I'm the executive director of My Brother's Table. We are primarily a soup kitchen. So that means we serve prepared foods, but that's actually probably about a third of what we do. We do quite a few other things too. But one thing I'd like to tell you about a little bit to start is that we're a little bit different than some charities in that we're what's considered a hospitality-based charity. What that really means is that, like a lot of religions, there's a tradition of hospitality, serving the stranger or providing food and comfort to someone. That's sort of the roots of where we come from. And that means that we serve anybody who comes to us without any sort of deeming or any kind of means testing or anything like that. So anybody can come here and get food. We don't ask them, you know, it's not that we don't care about them, but we don't ask them how much money they make or if they have disability or what their family situation is. We'll just serve anybody who comes here. Because of that, we actually are a charity where we don't take any government money at all. We don't seek any government money. We don't seek United Way money either. And for the most part, that's because a lot of those grants require us to collect demographic data or other kind of data on our guests. And, you know, I always liken it to if you invited someone to your house for dinner, you wouldn't say, how much money do you make? Where do you live? Do you have a disability? You know, how many kids do you have? Do they live with you? Like, you just never do that to someone you invited for dinner. And we don't really want to do that here either. So for the most part, that's great because it gives us the flexibility to kind of do things the way we want to. Unfortunately, like right now, there's tons of federal funding and state funding for programs like ours, but I think the trade-off is worth it for us. So the things that we do, we have a soup kitchen. We're open 365 days a year, no matter what the weather, no matter holidays or whatnot. During COVID, Monday through Fridays, we're open 12 to 6. So we're open continuously. People are welcome to come in. Everything's to go. So they can come in, get lunch, and then a hot meal later in the day. There are some folks who will come in like, you know, 5 or 6 times, you know, maybe get a cup of coffee or a glass of juice and then come back and get lunch and then later come back and get dinner. That's totally fine. We have a lot of folks that pick up for their neighbors. So there's quite a bit of elderly housing around where our building is. So people will come pick up for a couple neighbors and bring the food home to them. That's what we do on site. And then we have a bunch of off-site programs where, for example, Joe's Meals, which is a meal delivery program for folks that are homebound but are too young for Meals on Wheels. So we make our own kind of frozen dinners, and then once a week we deliver those to people who are on that program. And if the primary caregiver is the one who's unwell, we'll send enough food for the whole family so that the caregiver doesn't have to cook either. So we do that. And then we have a few other programs where we don't deliver cooked food, but we deliver the sort of a grocery package to people. We have a bunch of them going now during COVID, especially where we partner with some other organizations. We work with an organization that primarily serves recent immigrants. And so a lot of those folks are afraid to use some of the other pantries where they're nervous about how it might affect their immigration status. We serve another program that has about 60 families where the children have a severe persistent mental illness. And so rather than having to bring their kids to a soup kitchen, which might be a little tricky, we have food delivered to them. Another program where we serve a bunch of unprepared food and it comes with a recipe, and that's for a teen mothers program where the teen moms will get a whole package of food plus instructions about how to cook it. And so they can try a new dish and not have to worry about, oh, I just spent all this money on this food, didn't turn out right, or I don't know if I would like that. We provide the food for them. We also have a medical clinic on site. It's episodic care clinic. Right now, we're mostly doing vaccinations, which is very exciting. Part of that program is a medical respite where people who are either homeless or underhoused can go and recuperate from either an illness or an injury or surgery, something like that. So we do all the meals for that program. Another fun fact, in the city of Lynn, they have a lockup. So if someone gets arrested and they can't post bond or they're waiting for court in the morning, we provide all the food to the local lockup at the Lynn Police Department. We've done that for, I think, about 38 years. So that's kind of a little side venture we have with Lynn PD. So we have a bunch of these different programs that are offsite. We're primarily sort of fueled by volunteers. We use about 2,000 volunteers a year. Right now, maybe not as many because of the rules around COVID, and we really rely on them. We have a very small staff. Right now, there's really only 1.5 of us that are here on site. So we definitely rely on volunteers. As far as like challenges for us, I think, obviously it's just always sort of a juggling act, being open every single day, making sure we have enough volunteers, making sure we have enough money, making sure that we, are able to stay open. Really exciting thing today, we applied to purchase our building. We've been renting from the city of Lynn for many, many years, and they put the building up for sale. So I anticipate we'll probably have a challenge if the city accepts our bid. We're going to have to raise a bunch of money. And then I would say, as far as like ways that you can help, we use volunteers on site. We don't use a ton of people. We try to keep everybody spaced out, but we do welcome people to come in. They help us package meals and prepare them and set them out for folks, and then folks take them. So we can always use help with that. We also can use help with sometimes like with delivering the meals that we deliver, or helping to like bundle those up and get those out the door, kind of similar to what Bernice was talking about. And then we also use volunteers as far as like helping us with whether it's like working on a fundraiser or volunteering at an event that we have back in the before days when we used to have things like events. But hopefully we'll go back to that soon. So, and then I think the other thing I would say is everybody from home can do a little bit of work around advocacy related to hunger issues. There's some really good parts of the latest recovery bill that Biden has put forth, and there's a lot in there around providing income supports to families, and that will really make a very huge difference to the folks that we serve. So I think they're temporary right now, but if it's something that you're interested in, I think really paying attention to some of the changes around that. I know the other thing that we're encouraging people is to make sure if you know any folks that are lower income, if they've even made $1 in the past year, they can apply for earned income tax credits, and those are great supports for families as well. I know they're often looking for volunteers to help folks with that through the VITA program, and I think there's a lot of different ways to help, and you don't even have to leave your house to help these days. So certainly, you can help us out, or Bernice's program, or even some of these nationwide programs can use your help as well. I'm sorry I talked so fast.
No, wonderful. Thank you so much for all of the information. I do want to open, first of all, just thank you for all that you're doing for the community, both through Family Table and also through my family table and my brother's table. It's amazing what you're accomplishing. And again, the need is just so great. And the percentage growth in the need is just horrifying in terms of the community and what people are experiencing during this time. I do want to open it up for questions. We'll look for your hands in the chat. If you raise your hand, and you also can put your name in the chat. Dianne, I wanted to ask you one question, because I've heard a lot about your make meals at home programs where people can make sandwiches and drop them off for you. Do you want to talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, so at lunchtime we do a couple different we do usually two different bag lunches. One will be something like turkey and cheese, and the other one will be peanut butter and jelly. So we do have families that are making the peanut butter and jelly bag lunches for us, and they drop them off each morning. Usually people sign up to do at least 25. And we use a lot of those because some people will take them and they'll actually get dinner, grab one of those bags, and then they'll eat that for breakfast the next day. So they're really popular. We also have folks making the bags that go with our dinner meals. So we put together a hot tray with like entree, starch, vegetables. And then there's a bag that has a drink, the fork, knife, napkin, a snack, whatever. So families make those bags that go with a hot meal too. So we have a Sign Up Genius for that. I know I've talked to a couple schools and like Girl Scout groups and groups like that weren't able to get a slot the time they want. If that happens and you have someone that wants to do meals on a particular day and it's full, you can just let me know because we usually use more than that come in through that program. I will say one thing I meant to mention, which is silly that I forgot, but yesterday was our anniversary of doing Meals to Go. And we've done over 1 million meals since the beginning of the pandemic. We did 1 million, like 20-something thousand meals compared to the previous year, which would have been about 214,000. So it's
Amazing.
yeah. So we can use your help.
We have questions, open at questions. And if we don't see you, you're on multiple screens, so be sure to just chime in if I'm not calling on you. Anyone? No questions about anything that you can volunteer for about the anti-poverty program? Wow, a quiet group tonight. All right, last chance.
Could I
Okay,
actually get
well,
I actually get a phone number for? Yeah, just a phone number if I ever want to do. How about delivering?
I think there's one in the chat, but we can also send it out to you. Did you want it for family table or for my brother's table?
Both.
So family table is 781-693-5593. And Diane, do you want to give the number for my brother's table?
Yes, it's 781-595-3224.
Thank you for being interested in delivering and volunteering.
Beth, I have a question.
Sure, Jude.
So it's great to hear the programming. It's amazing. I apologize. I'm wheeling around. So I heard that there was a call for questions. And one of the questions I have is, so with the hopefully vaccinations and everything happening in a quick and speedy rate here, what's your planning? And again, for JFNCS and certainly for my brother's kitchen, my brother's table. Sorry.
My brother's table.
Forgive me. But what is your plan in terms of bringing people back in person to be a little bit more, have an opportunity to really be in collaborative with the efforts you're doing, rather than siloed at home making sandwiches, which is amazing, which I did for an organization in Boston, Newton, with a bunch of folks. But again, I'm thinking it's so much more fun together. And so what's your strategy and thinking in terms of as we move forward with everybody healing and staying healthy and being mindful about how important it is to be thinking about collaborating in person?
Yeah, I'm happy to start off. We've actually been engaging volunteers throughout. As I said, we initially, from March last year all the way through November, we just pulled all of our tables and boxes of everything outside to our parking lot. We created socially distanced processes. And we dedicated more time so that people could come. We assigned people shifts so that they could come in a more socially distanced fashion, show up at different times. And people packed groceries and delivered them. There were some people who weren't comfortable and they chose not to come. But we actually got a lot of new volunteers. So we've been able to continue to use volunteers in that way. And then we had to switch a little bit when we went into the winter time, where volunteers came and they pulled up curbside and we handed them the bags and they took off with them. But we by necessity, we had to figure out a way to keep people engaged. we couldn't have done the work without people. It's just taken sort of creativity on our part to figure out how to do it.
Awesome. It's great, Bernice. Thank you.
Yeah, we've used volunteers the whole time as well. And one of the things we did was we turned our dining room into a production area. So rather than having everybody in the kitchen, which is pretty big, but still, we spread people out throughout the dining room, which is an enormous room. So we don't use as many volunteers as we used to, but we do use volunteers on site, and we try to keep them in their little family pods or whatever. So
I think it's
and
because every
staff-
country has had to figure out how to do this.
we're fully vaccinated here, and I think one of the things that might be attracted to volunteers is volunteers who physically go and volunteer at food pantries and soup kitchens are eligible for the vaccine. So we write a lot of letters for people. So you know, if people are thinking, oh, I'm not so sure, like they would be eligible for a vaccine if they're coming on site.
That's huge. I have a question, Dianne, for you also about the medical clinic. When you're not giving vaccines or maybe testing, what does go on at the medical clinic? And also, are there volunteers there?
Yeah, we give out a lot of toiletries and over-the-counter medications, things like that, just to kind of draw people in and to talk to our nurse practitioner. And so a lot of giving away socks, toiletries, you know, chatting up people and trying to build some trust with them. And we typically use volunteers. Right now, we're not, because they're doing both vaccines and the rest of the time they're doing COVID screenings, but it's an episodic care clinic. So folks can come in for a cough or, you know, need a Band-Aid or, you know, something like that. So we will go back to using volunteers in that program. It's just that that room is actually fairly small. So we're a little bit limited how far we can and how many people we can fit in the little clown car of an office that it is.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions?
I have a question. So I'm wondering, with the effect of COVID and having to sort of change how you're doing what you do, and you know, I really applaud both JF&CS and My Brother's Table, and obviously CJP's efforts with the Anti-Poverty Initiative. Have you found the silver lining in terms of, you know, sort of rethinking your business model? Will you be doing things differently post-COVID that maybe you haven't had a chance, you know, to do before?
Dianne, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think for us, it's kind of, I've worked here quite a while in different jobs, but I think one of the to-go meals, we used to have like, you would be on a list to get a to-go meal because, you know, you were sick or whatever, you couldn't come here. We're never going back to that. I think we'll do both to-go meals and the dining room going forward. And we used to do like a rule where you could have one meal per person. And I think we did that because we were afraid that we would run out of food or not make enough. I think at this point we're like, who cares? Why did we ever care? Like, I keep asking, like, why did we care about these things? You know, like the pre-COVID world. So I think we'll stick with the, like, people can pick up as many meals as they need for their neighbors. And we will do a combination of dining room and to go, I think, going forward.
So I would say, I know we only have a couple of minutes. The silver linings for us are, number one, we're taking advantage of the greater awareness of food insecurity that's bringing funding to us and to other organizations. And we're doing a pretty significant expansion of our program so that we can meet the need going forward. So a physical expansion, we're going to be expanding our cold storage, hopefully tripling it, and creating a plan, executing a plan that'll take us through hopefully the next decade. And the second thing is we rolled out an emergency delivery, grocery delivery program during the pandemic, and that's been just phenomenal. We've served a lot of emergency need across the whole Eastern Massachusetts, and I imagine that we'll continue with that. So that's been just a new expansion of the program that I think has been really positive. And you know, it'd be great if we didn't need it, but that's what we'll be doing.
Remarkable. I do want to be conscious of everybody's time. It's 7:59. So if there's anyone, we can go with that. And otherwise, I would like to reinforce and say thank you to Lori and Madeline and Bernice and Dianne and Jill for being here tonight. It was really enlightening to hear about all the work in the community, all the need in the community. and the way, particularly JF&CS and my brother's table, you've just stepped up and met that need day to day for such an increase in number of people that need the work that you're doing. So any final question before we sign off? Thank you, everybody, for the time. I know a time is precious, and especially in the evenings. So thank you for being with us, and hopefully you all learned a little bit. I know some of you are lollipop moment TED Talk with a lot of others, so keep passing it on, and enjoy the engaging with leadership every day and with gratitude.